but they sent 2 police officers to investigate someone overhearing a conversation in a pub. But why are the police ringing people up and trying to police the internet and police hurty words and hurty feelings? I'm distressed, I'm upset. Welcome back to Nick Talks on The Pulse. Free speech, we're losing it, aren't we? Can you believe that story we just had then off David? Silver Fox Hot Takes on YouTube. Can you believe that? That means I can be arrested for being on this radio station, for posting on my YouTube. That means you can be arrested. And that's not a one-off. We mentioned some other stories then when me and David were talking, but his story isn't a one-off. This is almost a daily occurrence now in the UK. And again, not just a Labour problem. No, this all started under 14 years of Tories. And it started before that under Blair. This has been going on for decades and decades and decades. But let me give you some more examples. Let me give you one about a personal friend of mine. About 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, he was in an area of Greater Manchester called Trafford, sat in a pub with some friends on a Saturday night having a conversation like men do in pubs. And he said they were talking about Trump, they were talking about 9/11, they were talking about the pandemic that had just ended. So having some serious conversations, probably cracking some jokes, maybe saying, I don't know what, I wasn't there, but having a serious conversation with his friends over some pints. On a Saturday night in Greater Manchester, 2 police officers walk up to their table and say, "You gentlemen having conversations? What are you talking about?" Someone in the pub overheard their conversation and phoned the police. That in itself is disgusting. That in itself is Stasi-like. The fact the police on a Saturday night can afford to lose 2 police officers to turn up to a pub to question men about their conversation around the table is absolutely shocking. If you don't know Greater Manchester, we have an horrendous crime problem. Burglary, car crime, knife crime, organised crime, gang rapes, sexual assaults. It's a Saturday night. It's one of the busiest times of the week. And they can afford 2 officers to go to speak to 6 men in the pub about what are these conversations you're having about President Trump, or he'd lost the election by then, so Trump. Why are you talking about 9/11? Well, let me tell you about 9/11. 9/11 wasn't planned by white guys sat in a pub on a Saturday night having a conversation where everyone can hear the conversation. Terrorist attacks are not planned in pubs where people can overhear you. And they were talking about the pandemic, about the mistakes our government made and the lockdowns and stuff like that. Well, all that has been proven now. Our government and many governments handled it really, really poorly. But they sent 2 police officers to investigate someone overhearing a conversation in a pub. That's how bad it is here now. And it's not just members of the public. Let me give you 2 more examples from an elected official. Say that again. An elected official of this country. Councillor Liam Billington, who's a local councillor in Tameside, which is part of Greater Manchester. He's had 2 run-ins with the police now for his freedom of speech. The first one was when another local councillor had a private number plate on their car that said Mao. And Mao means Chairman Mao. That's a Chinese guy who killed at least 60 million Chinese people. A dictatorial, authoritarian, dictator lunatic was Chairman Mao. And this other councillor has his name on his number plate as if it's some sort of worship, as if it's some sort of virtue signal. Look who I support. And that's fine. He can have that on his number plate. Not got a problem with that. And Liam's not got a problem with that. But Liam just wanted to show the hypocrisy of these people, that they support dictators around the world, communist dictators. So he took a picture of the car, put it online about this local councillor. Next day, gets a phone call off the police. And the police say to him, "You need to take that photo down." And the councillor goes, "Why? Have I broken the law?" And the police go, well, no, not actually. But the person it's about feels distressed. So Liam, rightly so, goes, "Well, I'm not taking it down then, am I?" I follow the law in this country. I'm not here to try to make other councillors feel better. You know, if you feel distressed, you feel distressed. We'll change your number plate then, pal, yeah? And stop promoting communist dictators from around the world. But why are the police ringing people up and trying to police the internet and police hurty words and hurty feelings? I'm distressed. I'm upset. That's not the police's job. I want the police to catch criminals. Then it gets worse. And then before that incident, same councillor, Liam Billington, is at the council chamber asking questions about child sexual exploitation, which the local council admits there's at least 30 incidents a quarter, 120 a year. So he's asking questions about that. They turn his mic off. So he can't say anything. So he criticises them online about turning my mic off when I was trying to talk about the rape of our children. Next day, he gets a phone call off the police. The inspector would like you to come into the police station and discuss some of your posts last night about what happened in the chamber. So he says to them, again, have I broken the law? And the answer is, oh, we don't know. We're going to try to figure that out when you're in the station. So he doesn't go. Don't blame him. Have I either broken the law or I haven't? Since when have Greater Manchester Police been the enforcement arm of the Labour Party in Greater Manchester? Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. But that's where we live now. That's the UK. That's my country. We've fallen. We've fallen so far. And then in the same area in Tameside, a couple of months ago, some woman had, I think it was 2 plainclothes officers at her door one evening, knocking on the door, asking her to take down Facebook posts. Not illegal Facebook posts, not incitement to violence, not doing anything criminal, knocking on her door saying, we've had complaints about your Facebook posts, can you take them down? And rightly she goes, no, not taking them down. Because freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Honestly, we need to look at not only our political layer, but also the policing layer. So many chief constables need sacking. So much of the top brass in our police force needs sacking. They're corrupt. They've been captured. They think it's their job to police feelings. They think feelings are more important than facts and the law. I used to be a big supporter of the police. Spent years working with them. I was based in police stations for many years. I've won police awards for the projects I designed for the police. I've trained police officers. I've held fundraisers for police officers. Nobody was a bigger supporter of the police than me. But this year I lost my support for the police. And I know exactly when it happened. It happened in Manchester City Centre a couple of months ago when they arrested a man who was burning the Quran. His own Quran, his own copy, his own property. He was stood silently, having someone film him burn the Quran, and the police turned up, mob-handed, and arrested him for incitement of racial hatred, for burning his own property. They then charged him and then released his details online. His name, roughly where he lived, and his other details. The police must know we have radical nutcases in this country who would kill him for burning the Quran, and the police advertise to them who he is and where he lives. He had to leave his home. He's homeless. That's what he had to do. He had to leave his home. Couldn't go back because he's scared now of being assassinated by the radical Islamists in our country. I've lost all support for the police. But I think I had another one as well. And this sounds quite funny, this story. This was a year or two ago. There was a disruptive 13-year-old girl, not the best behaved, and I'm sure she was in trouble all the time. But the police turned up at her house. I can't remember what it was for now. And she said to one of the female police officers, "You look like my lesbian nana. You look like my lesbian nana." So her nana, her grandmother, is a lesbian, and she's saying you look like her to a lesbian police officer that she wouldn't have known was a lesbian, but she looked like her lesbian nana and told her. This kid got arrested for a hate crime. for telling someone they look like their nana. It all got dropped in court. It never got to court, actually. All got thrown out. The police officer had to go on training because she overreacted. This is my country today. This is the UK. This is England, where you can be arrested for almost anything if the officer doesn't like what you said, how you said it, or who you said it to. And that changes in every certain circumstance. Depends on what street you stood on, who's listening, what the police officer's like. This isn't law and order anymore now. This is turning into a dictatorship where you will do as you're told or else. Scary times. I'm going to get some of these stories and these people on this show over the coming months. But thanks for tuning in today. My second show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to hear more of me in the meantime, check out my social media, YouTube, Twitter. It's all the same handle, Nick Buckley, MBE. And I will see you next time. Thanks for coming along here at Nick Talks at The Pulse.